Ever wondered why badgers never partake in beauty contests? Could it be their less than stellar eyesight? Or maybe they're just too busy digging up your backyard? Welcome to the world of misunderstood animals, where we shed light on the true nature of some of your favorite critters, starting with the star of our show today, the badger. Now, badgers have had a tough rap over the years. They've been painted as grumpy, destructive, and as blind as bats. But are they really the cantankerous, sightless diggers we've made them out to be? You might have heard the old wives' tale that badgers are grumpy because they've got dirt in their eyes from all the digging. It's a humorous notion, isn't it? A badger furiously burrowing away only to emerge with a face full of dirt and a scowl to match. But is there any truth to this? And then there's the stereotype of the destructive badger, the unwelcome guest who turns your pristine garden into a scene straight out of a war movie. But is the badger really to blame? Or could it be that our gardens are simply too irresistible for these curious creatures? Now let's address the elephant in the room, or should we say, the badger in the burrow. The belief that badgers are blind is as widespread as it is incorrect. Sure, they might not have the eagle-eyed vision of, well, an eagle, but are badgers really as blind as we've been led to believe? As we dive deeper into the world of badgers, we'll be challenging these stereotypes using a dash of humor and a whole lot of facts. Our journey will take us from the myths to the realities, revealing the badger in all its misunderstood glory. So, next time you see a badger, don't start a staring contest. They might not even see you, but hold on a minute, is that really true? Stick around to find out. We all know that one neighbor who's always grumpy. In the animal kingdom, that's supposed to be the badger, right? Well, let's take a moment to consider this. Picture your grumpy neighbor, always griping and complaining. Now, imagine them with a set of digging claws, a snout, and a thick coat of fur. That's the image that most of us have of badgers, the grumpy, destructive diggers of the animal world. But let's debunk this myth, shall we? Badgers aren't grumpy. They're just passionate about their work, and their work involves a lot of digging. It's not personal, it's not a vendetta against your beautifully manicured lawn. It's just what badgers do. You see, badgers are like the architects of the animal kingdom. They meticulously design and construct complex tunnel systems called setts. These setts can be used by generations of badgers, with some even lasting for hundreds of years. Talk about a family heirloom. And these setts aren't just haphazard holes in the ground. Oh no, they are carefully crafted, with separate chambers for sleeping, eating, and even latrines. Yes, you heard that right. Badgers are tidy animals that designate specific areas for their bathroom needs. So, if you ever thought badgers were just messy, grumpy diggers, think again. Now let's address the intelligence of these creatures. Badgers are known for their problem-solving skills. They are adept at using tools and have even been observed using stones to crush nuts. I mean, who needs a hammer when you have a rock, right? So if you see a badger digging in your backyard, don't think of it as a grumpy neighbor destroying your lawn. Instead, think of it as a meticulous, intelligent architect doing its best to design the perfect home. Remember, every animal has its own unique quirks and characteristics. And for the badger, their love for digging isn't a sign of grumpiness, but a testament to their industrious nature and intelligence. So if a badger is digging up your backyard, it's not out of grumpiness, it's just their version of a home renovation. In the world of animal rumors, badgers are known as the blind burrowers. But are they really as sightless as we think? Let's dive into this myth and unearth the truth. Picture this: a badger squinting and stumbling around its burrow, bumping into walls and tripping over its own feet. Quite a hilarious image, isn't it? Well, as amusing as that may be, it's also a gross exaggeration of the badger's vision capabilities. Contrary to popular belief, badgers are not blind. Yes, you heard that right. They can see, albeit not as sharply as some of their forest friends. Imagine a badger wearing a pair of tiny glasses trying to read the morning newspaper. It's not that they can't see the headlines. It's just that they might struggle to read the small print. But let's not be too harsh on our burrowing buddies. Their eyesight is perfectly suited to their lifestyle. Badgers are nocturnal animals, meaning they're most active during the night. Their vision is adapted to low light conditions, so it's like they're perpetually wearing night vision goggles. Pretty cool, right? So why the myth of the blind badger? Well, it's probably because they rely heavily on their other senses. Their sense of smell, for instance, is phenomenal. It's like they have their own built-in GPS system leading them to food and away from danger. And their hearing? Let's just say they could probably hear a pin drop from a mile away. But back to their eyesight. It might not be their strongest asset, but it's certainly not as poor as the myth suggests. They can detect movement and distinguish between light and dark. That's more than enough for a creature that spends most of its life under the cover of darkness or burrowing underground. So, let's put the myth to rest. Our badger friends aren't bumbling around their burrows, bumping into everything in sight. They're simply doing their thing, navigating their world in their own unique way. So, badgers might not win any sightseeing contests, but they're not stumbling around in the dark either. So, are badgers grumpy, destructive, vision-impaired creatures? Well, we've dug up some interesting truths today, haven't we? Let's take a minute to burrow back through the highlights. We kicked things off with the myth that badgers are the unseen comedians of the wild. While they might not be performing stand-up in the woods, their antics can certainly bring a chuckle. They're known to play with each other, chase their tails, and even slide down hills on their bellies. Who knew the wild had its own comedy club? Then we tackled the grumpy digger stereotype. Yes, badgers do have a penchant for digging, but they're not doing it out of spite. Those tunnels and burrows provide them with shelter, a place to raise their young, and a handy escape route from predators. So, while your garden might not appreciate their digging, it's all part of the badger's survival strategy. We also uncovered the myth of the blind burrower. While it's true that badgers don't have the best eyesight, they make up for it with an incredible sense of smell. Their noses are about 40 times more sensitive than ours. That's like having a super-powered sniffer dog in your backyard. And finally, we've learned that badgers aren't just your average garden pests. They're fascinating creatures with their own unique behaviors and characteristics, and they play an important role in our ecosystems. They control pest populations, help aerate the soil, and even assist in seed dispersal. In the grand scheme of things, badgers are just like us, trying to carve out a place in this big wild world. They've got their quirks, their habits, and their own ways of doing things. Sure, they might not always align with our garden plans, but that's what makes them so intriguing. So, let's give our striped friends a bit of slack. They're not the villains of the garden, they're just misunderstood. The next time you cross paths with a badger, remember the myths we've debunked today. Remember, the next time you see a badger, don't judge by the myths. They might not win a beauty contest, but they sure do make for an interesting neighbor.